And now, right to your hosts of Down the Garden Path, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Down the Garden Path, where we discuss down-to-earth tips and advice while doing our best to help you seasonally manage your garden and landscape. I'm Joanne Shaw, owner of Down to Earth Landscape Design, and with me is my co-host and co-author, Matthew Dressing. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Joanne, and good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Matthew Dressing, owner of Natural Affinity Garden Design. As landscape designers and gardeners, we believe it's important and possible to have great gardens, which are sustainable and low maintenance, and we want to help you make it happen.
That's right. And we're really excited about the topic this evening. A friend of mine and an amateur butterfly enthusiast, Lisa-Rae Cormack, is joining us to talk about harvesting milkweed and how we can grow it from that very seed in the spring. So if you have always wanted to grow milkweed, or if you have questions about raising and caring for monarchs, or if you've done this yourself, we would love to hear from you. Please send us your questions or comments to downthegardenpathpodcast@hotmail.com.
That's right. So just a little bit before Lisa-Rae, before she joins us, Lisa-Rae is a wife, mother, and HR professional from Whitby, Ontario. Lisa-Rae started raising monarchs when she became an empty nester as her son left home for college 5 years ago. To date, she has raised and released close to 400 monarch butterflies. This wouldn't be possible without the monarch caterpillar's only source of food, milkweed. What started as a small indoor project has grown over the years to incorporate an outdoor enclosure, vast pollinator gardens, and 2 variations of milkweed. Her operation is coined #FlyBeFree, and in 2020, she officially certified as a registered monarch waystation by monarchwatch.org. Through trial and error, Lisa-Rae has taught herself how to harvest, stratify, and germinate common milkweed for this purpose. Welcome to the show, Lisa-Rae.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Thanks for the introduction. Hi, Joanne.
Hello. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you were happy. It was your idea to come on the show to talk about this topic. And it's such a timely one. So we're both really happy to have you. And we would love, in addition to becoming an empty nester. Now, didn't your son come back from college?
Yeah, he's back, but I got attached to the raising of monarch butterflies. So that too has stayed around.
That's good. That's good. So tell us more about how you got started down this path.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I kind of stumbled upon at my first intro to a monarch butterfly enclosing. I think most kids nowadays in kindergarten or grade 1 get to see that transformation happening or learn about it in books. Well, I don't know what happened. I totally missed that part of school. When I saw this monarch, I was at a meeting because my son was in a robotics club or team, and I was a mentor on that team, and there was other teachers that were mentors. So the teacher had, I guess, over the years of his teaching, this is something that he had adopted as his own hobby. So he brought one in. He said, just so you guys, for interest's sake, we happen to have a monarch enclosing today if anybody's interested, and brought it in. I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, there's no way. And I watched it enclose and I was just completely blown away because I hadn't actually contemplated how monarchs or how butterflies come to be actually. So it started kind of, just with wonder and, I was like, how's this happen? What do you mean it was a caterpillar? How does this even work? So I did some research and I said to my husband, maybe I should buy a milkweed plant. So he went, and for my birthday in 2017, he bought me my first milkweed plant, but he bought it from like the store, like the garden center.
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't know any better at that time, and I'll get into why that wasn't the best solution to what I wanted to accomplish. Anyway, so I was blown away to find a caterpillar on that milkweed. Like I was really shocked.
Right away. Oh, yeah. On the one he bought you? Like he bought you and it came with a caterpillar?
Yep. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
lucky.
yeah, I couldn't believe it. So I watched it. I left it outside because I didn't know any better. I watched it, and then one day it disappeared, and I don't know whatever happened to it. So that was the end of that. And but then I thought that after doing research in that, I thought I better look into this a little more and find out like what happened to it. You know, how do I watch it transform like they did? So that's where I really turned the corner and thought I'm gonna try this.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I've never seen it go from caterpillar to like, but I've seen it once it's enclosed, like that little
The
jewel. It
pupa.
looks like a jewel.
It's gorgeous with the gold dots on it. The bright, it's almost the color of Matt's sweater. It's this beautiful green, emerald green, and with these gold dots on it. And then it turns black just before it's about to enclose. That's how you know. The day it's going to enclose, it goes black, and you could see the orange in the monarch wing, and it's a translucent because you can see right through the chrysalis. It's phenomenal.
Wow.
And then it drops down, and it needs time for the wings to all of the fluids to pump out of its body into its wings and dry out, so then it can be released. It's about a 4-hour process once it's enclosed. But
wonderful.
Yeah, but one of my favorite parts is actually watching the caterpillars eat and the amount of food that they go through and how they transform. And it's fascinating to me that milkweed is the only thing they live off of.
Yeah. Yeah, it is incredible.
Yeah,
so then therefore you needed a good supply at home.
Right.
We're going to do that. So you kind of started with the milkweed. Now, did he buy you actually common milkweed or did he buy butterfly weed?
It was a common milkweed he purchased because they do sell those locally. The problem that I found out with those is that because in the garden centers, oftentimes they're exposed to pesticides, the caterpillars don't survive on there. So it's not great. That's why I learned to figure I had to grow my own and, make sure my husband didn't put any kind of chemicals anywhere near it. I'm very protective of my plants in my backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
now some people are worried that it's invasive. Like it can be invasive out. Like how is it in your yard? Like, are you able to kind of control it?
Yeah. So I started off putting containers because my husband likes his lawn. So I figured we got to have a happy medium. So I started off with pretty big containers and started that way. And the first year that you plant common milkweed in particular, it doesn't grow that big. But the next year, it really comes back with a vengeance. The second year is really its year. And so I found that was a wonderful thing, the fact that it would come back and it would grow. And I've been able to contain it. And the beautiful thing about it is you can move those pots around as needed. And it's really handy. So I've since found spots in my garden where I can have my own clusters. And they do pop up. So you will get those suckers popping up because it's a weed. It's going to take over a little bit, but I'm happy to see that. Yeah, so I get quite excited when I start getting new shoots coming up.
They're like free plants, right?
That's right. Yeah, and they do so well in the ground. I mean, containers are one thing. They don't, because they're restricted, they don't get as large as they do when you put them straight in the ground, when you grow them in your property. So that's a major difference there too.
Okay. Well, that's good to know that someone who, because a lot of our listeners don't necessarily have big gardens and lots of space. So that's good to know that they do okay. Would you say that? They do okay in big containers?
They do great, yeah.
Wondering, Matt, if that's something you could do even on your balcony, right?
Yeah.
Yes, actually, I have some seeds that I've overwintered and stored. And that was one of the plans in one of our other years. But I think that's going to be the plan in my ornamental tree container for next year.
Oh, wonderful.
Or this season coming.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of a butterfly garden. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll need some sun. Do you have some sun on your balcony?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Some good sun.
Yeah, because they love the sun. They thrive in the sun. So that's great.
He does veggies and a few other things. So I thought, and he's been successful with potatoes and lots of things. So
cool.
Yeah.
So that's on one of my definite challenge lists.
Right.
What can you grow out there?
Excellent.
Yeah, for sure.
So
and you plant them
and
questions? They will come. They will come. The monarchs will come. You'll be surprised. Yeah, they sniff it out. They know where to go.
Nice.
So cool.
Yeah, we did have a couple questions pop in. Carla has written in, "Hi, Joanne and Matt. Great topic tonight. My question is milkweed a perennial?" So I think you touched a little bit on that.
Yeah, so I have two different types that I grow in my backyard, and one's a perennial and one's an annual. And the annual is called tropical milkweed. And I kind of grow them for two different purposes, kind of same purpose, but I enjoy them for various reasons. Let's put it that way.
Nice.
So the annual kind, that tropical kind, I have purchased those seeds and once, and then now I harvest my own seeds year over year.
Okay.
But yeah, so they have these beautiful orange and yellow flowers, and they're so they grow fast and they bloom fast and they bloom all season. It's beautiful and it's wonderful. So common milkweed doesn't do that. They kind of bloom, it lasts for about a week and then it goes away. So it's kind of, oh, well.
Yeah,
But
anticlimactic.
yeah, and the common milkweed blooms a beautiful pink, and it does have a nice aroma to it. But again, it doesn't last. So I grow the tropical to attract the butterflies, to attract the monarchs, and also to have it for aesthetics because I love the way it
Okay.
looks. It's gorgeous. So I have a planter across my deck. It's probably 10 feet long, and it's just full of tropical milkweed along the fence. And it does quite well, again, in a sunny location.
Right. Now, so they can still, so it's still considered a milkweed. The monarchs can still eat from it.
Definitely. Yes. Yep. Yeah.
That's one I haven't heard of. Matt, have you heard of that one?
Yeah, tropical milkweed. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
And do you find that the monarchs are they eating the leaves? Do you find anybody's eating the leaves, or do you find it's also just a nectar pollen resource for the adults?
It's both. It's both. So I love watching the adults come and feed off of it because they do love it. They do lay eggs. Females do lay the eggs on the tropical milkweed, and I often scoop the eggs before they hatch outside because the pests get to them. You know, the wasps and the ants and all that fun stuff, because the wasps also love the tropical milkweed. All of the bees and wasps do, but
Oh, okay.
that's, it's a pollinator garden. Got to put up with that too.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Excellent.
Yeah, so I grab the eggs and bring them in, and but yeah, they will eat it.
Very nice. So you mentioned that you have a full cycle operation,
Yes.
and that you're taking the eggs and everything in. Can you walk us through maybe just a typical one of the cycles of your operation? When do you do
Okay.
it? How often you do it?
Well, I start in Okay, so I guess it starts in the fall, which is kind of why we're here,
That's
because what
right.
I do is I start harvesting my seeds in the fall. So I'm going along my drive. I live in Whitby, Ontario, Canada. So I'm going along the drive, and there's lots of common milkweeds along the sides of our roads. So if the trained eye can pick it out pretty quick. And what I do is I'll stop and I'll go and grab some seed pods when I can see the fluff, just like that visual that you had to promote this show. There was that picture of that milkweed pod, and the fluff started coming out of it. And once that happens, once it opens, that's the time they're ready. They're dry enough, the pod opens, and then you can grab it. So I just snip some, throw them in a paper bag, and take them home with me. And that's plenty. 1 or 2 pods, you'll have tons of milkweed. There's
Oh,
a ton of
really?
seeds in
Okay.
there. Yeah. You
Yeah.
don't need very many, but I tend to, think, oh, this one's really good. I can't leave it. I have to bring this pod home with me. So I do that, and I collect. So I collect the seeds, and then I put them away. So you have to, with the common milkweed, it needs to be stratified. Is that the correct term? Where it has to be, it has to go through that cycle like it would here in Canada. That freeze and thaw cycle. So I stick mine in a baggie. I've done 2 ways. I've done both, just dry in an envelope into my freezer and left them, and that's fine. And it also works with the wet paper towel method. So they get that moisture again, the freezing and the thawing. You leave them for 1 or 2 months till you're ready. I found it doesn't matter which way you do it. I found they both germinate, but the germination process isn't easy. So that's one thing I found with common. It's a little bit harder to get that germination happening. So then in March, about the end of March, I start pulling my seeds out and getting ready and get my grow light because I start indoors. So I've gone from fall, I've had that bit of a break, nothing to do with caterpillars or monarchs or anything like that during that period of time. I get kind of some respite. And then I'm back into it with the planting. And that's really when things start again, because, you're watching, trying to get them to germinate. So if for anybody that's tried milkweed and not been successful, a couple of tips that I can suggest is that you can take the common milkweed seeds that are a little more stubborn, and I put them in a baggie, in like a Ziploc baggie full of water. And you can put a little bit of hydrogen peroxide in there so they don't get moldy. Okay, into the water. And you just stick them on a windowsill. So they're floating around, and you'll see in a day or two, they start to sprout, just like a bean sprout would. And that's how, and then you can, so you're forcing that process. And you guys probably know more about that seedling process than I do. Again, I've just kind of, it's been Google has been my help. Been really
Matt's
helpful.
got the science. I always say he's the science guy, right, Matt?
Yeah. So then once that starts, I stick them in some soil, and away they grow.
Very nice. We have Kelly's actually written in as well. So cool, J&M. Can you transplant milkweed? So you're starting them inside. You're obviously growing them in pots under lights, and you're going to transplant them out. Now, do you find that there is a certain size or age in which they do or don't transplant better than not?
For sure. Again, this has been trial and error for me. So I wait till they have at least 4 distinct leaves.
Okay.
So I would say they're about 3 inches tall, not very big, about 3 inches. They have 4 distinct leaves, and then they'll be good. But I also wait with our weather. I wait till May 2-4 weekend. That old, the old rule of thumb.
Yeah.
And then once they have 4 leaves and it's past that time, I feel safe for them to go out. Okay. Now, if you're talking about, this is where it gets a bit tricky. If you're taking an adult, or say you're on the side of the road and, you want to take a sprig home with you, that's a little more complicated. They don't do well. It's not like you can reroot them very well. You have to really get the white root. You have to dig down. And I don't know. I always feel funny taking a shovel to the side of the road. I wonder what people think I'm doing.
Burying somebody,
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. I have tried to, and we do have a listener asking the opposite about how to get rid of them. So I have been to clients' homes and they haven't wanted them, or they have too many of them, and they've said, help yourself if you want to take it. Take it. And I have yet to be successful. So I've managed to dig it out, but I've never managed to be able to get it to regrow, like replant it and stuff. And I've tried them, I've tried a bigger plant, and then this one client I went back again to and got like a littler one, and I thought, okay, let's try. But so they're not really transplantable. And
it is possible, but it's tricky.
It's trickier. Yeah. And for our listener who's asking about how to get rid of it, I mean, I think digging them out is preferable to using a pesticide. I'm sorry, I'm just missing her name. There we go. Oh, there we go. Hannah. Just because the butterfly eggs could be on it. And, so I feel like it's best to kind of, if you have to, try to make sure there are no eggs on it. And if it's in an area where you do need to get rid of it, unfortunately, then do your best to dig it out.
Can I make a recommendation with that as well? So the eggs and the caterpillars, and there's a lot of other creatures that live on that milkweed that are milkweed friendly. There's a ton. There's beetles, there's ladybugs, there's all sorts of things, aphids, which we don't love, but we'll talk about that. Anyways, with that, if you were to post, if anybody wanted to get rid of their milkweed, all they need to do is post on Facebook, hey, I've got milkweed, does anybody want it? Because there's so many people that will come and get it, and they will dig it out for them. So, good. I mean, I know there's so many people that would do that for them, rather than having the pesticides and
Yes, and killing the whatever creatures, native pollinators and stuff. So there you go, Hannah. So that's something in your Facebook group or in a neighborhood group. You can post that you need some milkweed removed, and someone will come and do it for free. So even better. And you don't
Especially
risk
on
the
our-
damage to yourself with using weed killer, right?
Yep.
Also, so that's
Absolutely.
good to know. So there
Yeah.
probably is have you been successful ever of digging it out and potting it?
Yes. So I've actually transplanted you. Initially, remember I told you I put them in containers initially. Well, I wanted to put them in bigger containers because I felt that they had outgrown them. And the transplant, it lasted through the season, but then didn't come back. So something had happened that it didn't come back. So I just had to regrow it. And starting over it's kind of sad because again, you get one year and then the next year it's fabulous and it goes like wildfire from there on in. But
right.
And you know, the monarchs don't mind how little the plant is, to be honest. I've had a monarch lay an egg on like a 2-3 inch milkweed. Sometimes they're desperate for it, so they'll lay that egg wherever they can find it. So it doesn't matter the size of the plant.
They're just looking for somewhere.
Yeah, they're looking to dump eggs.
Nice. We also have Winnie asking about the milkweed. Says, "Hi, is my milkweed poisonous to pets, especially cats? Thank you very much."
Oh, that's an interesting question because I know that the milk in the milkweed, it can be toxic to people as well if you get it in your eyes or skin. I have never had a reaction from it, and I'm sure I've eaten some along the way by accident, but I've never had a reaction. Now, I keep my cats away from it if I have it indoors, but they don't bother with it either. It's a great question. I'm sure because there's properties in it that's meant to be toxic. So when the monarch caterpillars eat the milkweed, it makes them toxic to birds. So that's interesting. I'm wondering, that's a great question. Not sure.
Yeah, but that's another one for our poisonous plants show, right, Matt? We keep talking about because we're often asked that question. I think for my, of course it's not my cat, but like I think it's something that it probably tastes so bad that you're not gonna, and no one's gonna ingest it. Like birds don't, eat it and stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those things that you need to eat a lot of it in order to get have it be poisonous, and it tastes so bad that no one's really gonna eat it, kind of thing. So
yeah, and I have cats and I've never had any issues.
Yeah, that's good to know. But I'm not a vet, and I don't know. Kill a cat because I said that it's okay. So.
Yeah, and that's how I've always known it too, is the sap from the leaves and the stems, usually more poisonous in larger quantities. And it's a resinoid, however you say that, cardiac glycoside or whatever they call them. So so I don't think, again, if your cat took a bite or two, it's not an issue. Animals are usually smart that way, but definitely in larger quantities, I've always known. So
they're not interested in it at all, as far as I can tell.
Oh, that's good to know. So you've brought it in, and you have cats.
Oh,
and it's not an issue. Excellent. I just want to go back to that baggie in the water in the window. So do you, as soon as it has sprouted, you like a bean? I'm picturing like that bean that we grew. Do you do it right away? Do you leave it for a period of time?
Yeah, I let them grow a little tail. I let them grow enough of a little tail that I know it'll take in the soil. It'll root, exactly. So then I transplant those ones. Now, not all the seeds will germinate for whatever reason. I guess that's why there's hundreds of them in each pod.
Yeah.
But I try that method. I've also used where you take some soil, moisten the soil, mix the seeds in with the soil, put them in the baggie, flatten the baggie, and again, something to do with the heat in the window, having the soil, having the very moist condition, it really helps it with that germination. So I've done it that way too, quite successfully. But the water has almost worked the best for me, that water trick.
Excellent. And now, do you put it in, let's say, like a seed tray and then pot them up, or do you go right to putting them in individual, like 4-inch pots or something?
No, I do a seed tray.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I just buy those seed trays, and I buy my own seed soil, the seedling soil. Yeah. Buy that and get that going. And the tropicals are so easy to germinate. I mean, they germinate this in literally seems like days. So great, so fast.
That's great.
And almost 100%.
Okay.
Very cool. They have no stratification period whatsoever.
Nope. And they're hard. it's great. It's really easy. That's why I love them.
Nice. And that's how you were saying you're propagating your own tropical. They're just self-seeding
Yes,
the variety or
that's
species.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very
Yeah.
nice. Very
Mhm.
nice.
Now, have they started to lay theirs? Like, have they gone ready for harvest? Those seeds
Not
in
quite.
your
They're almost ready. So it's still it's getting colder at night now. So every
Mhm.
morning I look at them, I'm like, ooh, yeah. So they're starting to turn now. But I would say
Okay.
another week or so. They do need time to really dry out and crack open. They need that
Okay.
extra time. So I'm going to pay attention more to the timing now that you've asked me to see if is it Thanksgiving, is it after Thanksgiving, when is
Yeah.
it? Yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just can tell by an eyeball when I'm looking at it. It's ready.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And considering our listeners are kind of like a larger region,
over.
right? It could be in Ontario right now, they're not quite ready, right? Or in the
Yes.
GTA, but maybe a little farther south, they might be
Right.
starting to be ready. So
That's
that's
right.
something to look for. And it's good to know that you don't need to get like a dozen pods, like one or two pods is plenty.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, 1 or 2 pods is plenty. And then depending on the variety and your conditions where you're living, you'd probably have to put them in the fridge at minimum.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, to get that stratification, to trick it into believing winter has come.
Yeah.
Yeah, finishes all those little processes inside.
Mhm.
Susan has written in, hi, milkweed people, sun or shade for planting?
Sun, please.
Mhm.
Sun.
Lots
please.
of sun.
Lots of
Yes.
sun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
full sun plant.
Mhm.
Yeah. And even though we've seen milkweed grow in the strangest areas, but yeah, they love the side of the road under shading tree. I don't know. It's funny the way they grow. And the soil seems to be really sandy.
Mhm.
They love that sandy soil, that roadside kind of, you'll see it along the roadside quite often.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't need, though you're not adding compost and like amending the soil. Like it really likes whatever soil. And that's been the case when I've been at clients' homes. It's been odd, like right under a tree, like where there's nothing else grows, but it's growing, or between, the client where I tried to dig it out, where they have a fairly good sized yard and a metal fence around the pool. And so like in the gaps between the, the fence and the grass, like, and it's kind of like they're tucked in between like I'm going to say the spokes, but
For sure. The fence. Yeah.
the fence. And it's kind of like so funny that, there's some people that are really, really genuinely trying to grow it in a beautiful garden and it doesn't grow. But in this case, and then I had another client who up in Ashburn I designed a beautiful garden for her. And this was like second year. And I was visiting, I had to replace one shrub. And so she was giving me a tour looking around. And then she's like, can you come up to the front though? Because there's like a group of plants that I don't remember us planting. And there were probably like two spots where at least 6 plants. And I said, that's milkweed. And they looked so stately, as if they claimed the space, like they were never planted. I don't know what she did. She was, I did not see that last year. I have no idea. We gutted this whole yard and replanted. And I said, well, you probably don't want 12 plants. Like that could be a lot.
Right.
And I said, but you could take out a few, but leave some for that. And she was excited, but yet careful that she didn't want, the whole garden to become milkweed.
No,
right?
I understand that.
So I should follow up. Reminds me, I should follow up with her to see how she made out. So it's amazing how they can pop up and when people don't even realize it, but then other times when you're really trying to grow it, like you said, it took you some time to get going on it, then that's the case.
Yeah, trial and error on different spots in the yard and different conditions and different soil. So yeah, we had a rock garden on the side of the house, literally, and I thought, well, I got a spot, I'm gonna try it, and sure enough, it took off like wildfire, like wonderfully. I was so thrilled. Like, to see it, how big it is. It's awesome. But yeah, not everybody loves it.
Right. I did plant butterfly weed. So Matt, you can pronounce the botanical name for Asclepias. Go ahead.
Asclepias?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I did notice, now I tried it in the past, right? Buying it from a garden center. I know what you said about the pesticides and stuff. And I've always had it, like seen it grown in like 4-inch pots. So it was like this little pot and I've planted it and it's never done well. And I've tried that a few times. This time I managed to find one and it was like in a 1-gallon pot and it was massive. So I thought, Maybe I'll have some luck at doing that. So it certainly stopped blooming when I got home, but I did keep it alive. But I'm just realizing now that it does have pods on it, much like the other milkweed. So I'm wondering if I should be looking out there to see when I
Keep
can
an eye on
harvest
it.
my own butterfly weed
Yes.
seeds just to see.
I'll
give that a
exchange
try.
some. I'll give you I'll give you some
Yeah.
common or some tropical because that's one
Okay.
I haven't grown. I don't have that variety yet.
Yeah.
Asclepias tuberosa.
There you go.
So yeah, a North American, Ontario, Canadian native.
Awesome.
Found your way. So good to let her go.
Yeah.
Well, as we reach the very bottom of the hour, I'm going to jump in and just say thank you, everyone, for joining us here live on Reality Radio 101. Thank you to those too who are listening at home or in the car. You've downloaded the podcast. We appreciate you just as much. I'm Matthew Dressing here with my co-host and co-author, Joanne Shaw, and you're listening to Down the Garden Path. Joanne and I enjoy hosting Down the Garden Path each week, bringing you interesting and relevant topics to help you achieve a great garden. We learn right along with you from our research and from the wonderful guests like Lisa-Rae Cormack, who join us here on the show. Don't forget, you can spend more time with us down the garden path. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Down the Garden Path Podcast is our handle there. You can also find us on all of your favorite podcast providers. And while you're there, please hit that subscribe button to be notified of new content. And please don't forget to like, share, and leave us a comment. We love hearing from you. You can always write us here any time of week, Down the Garden Path Podcast at hotmail.com. We get our mail there. And you can visit our websites. You can find Joanne at www.down2earth.ca. And you can find myself, www.naturalaffinity.ca. So milkweed. We've talked about growing it. We've talked about the couple that you have grown. What else do we need to know about growing our milkweed?
Did you want to talk about pests?
Yes, yeah. So we know that the monarchs are feeding on it. Birds and other insects investigating. Who do we need to look out for? Who are the
aphids? Aphids.
Really?
Aphids, yeah. I had a bit of a disaster in one of my milkweed plants outside where this year it just got overtaken. It was one of the ones that's right in the ground. So in the past years, I've been able to kind of fight them off with marigolds. Naturally, again, there's really nothing you can do. You can't spray like soap and water because that'll kill the monarch eggs. So really, you either have to suffer with them and pray, or do the marigold trick. And the marigolds in the containers, like I said, really is effective. I found that I plant it throughout my tropical as well. It keeps them right at bay. I'm surprised, but it works really excellently. So the ones in my garden, the big patch that I talked about that I planted in that rock garden, and it did well, grew really high. It's got to be 4 or 5 feet tall. They're wonderful.
Oh, wow.
But they got this huge infestation this year of aphids, and it just took over to the point. And then the aphids, they excrete this sappy, sticky goo.
They poop.
Yeah. And then the ants come and it's one problem after another. And then the leaves actually get choked out because the leaves get so sticky and they suffocate literally. So my plant turned black, and it was hard to watch.
And the black is...
Sorry,
go
what's
ahead.
the black, Matt? I didn't really know what to do.
Yeah, that's the sooty mold starting to grow inside of the frass.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah, I tried hosing them off, but like the patch was so big, it's hard to kind of do that. And, like I said, there's a lot of other beneficial insects that are on there. Not everyone is a photo milkweed, although some of them look pretty scary. Some of these bugs, bright red beetles and things like that, but they're friends. They're fine.
Now, Matt, would ladybugs have helped that situation?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, so Lisa-Rae, we've had natural insect control from Niagara region on the show before, and they actually will sell in June and July some of our native ladybugs that you could release in your garden in the
Oh,
evening, and they'll
good.
climb up and eat. And if they find a good smorgasbord, they'll lay tons of teenagers and eggs, and they'll just
Oh,
sit there and
good.
cycle
Mhm.
with all of your natives. So
Great. I'm
I'll have
going
to
to do that
send
next year. Thank you.
So they wouldn't, but the ladybugs wouldn't touch the monarch
No,
eggs, right?
I don't think
Matt?
so.
They'd go after the aphids. Like that would be like a smorgasbord for for them to eat the aphids. So that
Yeah.
might be something to, so that it doesn't happen again, right? Next year, if those aphids have left eggs or whatever, however they reproduce. So so that's a good idea. But
Yeah.
making sure it's the native ladybugs.
Okay.
Yeah. And natural insect control just does those ones.
That's right.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
they
yeah,
also are
that's
what, like Sheridan or some of the other nurseries like Sheridan, like our local nurseries also carry NIC products as well, right, Matt?
Right, from the nematodes to the ladybugs and
Yeah.
other traps and things like that. And they'll
Yeah.
all have varying lines
Yeah.
from them. Yeah.
But you can order them directly from NIC online, Lisa-Rae.
Okay.
So
Perfect.
so that's good to know. So I think
Nice
that,
online.
and then you can maybe release them in the other areas just as prevent them from, showing up there, right? Because I think
for sure.
it's probably harder to deal with once they're already there, but if you can kind of get ahead of them, that's
Yeah, the ladybugs will climb up. You want to do it at night and spray some water, and they'll drink water, and then they'll climb up in the evening. They won't fly away at night because they can't really see, but
good.
they'll find some food and they'll hang out during the day. But if you release them and they climb up and they don't find really much, they'll start to spread out and take off to look for things.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that's great to know. Thanks for that tip.
Yeah, cool. What a great show. I hope everybody, all of our listeners, are enjoying the packed information in here.
Yeah, it's good.
Can you tell us more about, because it seemed like I've seen the little egg on the leaf, and then like how do you get from that to like having the guts to like bring that little egg inside, and where do you put it? And now I must say, and we do have a comment, a funny story, that Lisa-Rae was actually a student of my father-in-law's.
Oh,
and he says hello, by the way, because I told him you're going to be on the show.
Funny. Oh my goodness.
And my mother-in-law may be listening. Marilyn may be listening. And it's funny, they have, they're in a condo, and they have, where they park, there's a yew hedge, a very thick, tall yew hedge. And there's one piece, when you were talking about a small piece of milkweed, there is one piece of milkweed that's dense in the hedge, but comes right out, and she will find an egg on that every year, sometimes two. This year, only one. But then that's the only source of milkweed they have. So she goes, when they eat through that, she has to go looking for milkweed.
Yes.
So I have swamp milkweed, which I've been able to grow. No, sorry. I thought it was swamp, but it's actually poke milkweed. So I'm growing poke milkweed.
Okay.
I have yet to find anything on it though, which is weird. But I have given her the leaves, and we didn't know if they would eat them, and they have, when she's been desperate, they've eaten them. So that.
I feel her pain. I've been on that hunt many times where I'm looking for clean milkweed. What I mean by clean is because I've even gone to some of these parks in the Whitby area. They had this conservation park type of thing where they said, oh, this is for pollinators, and it's like protected, and it's all roped off and beautiful, and they had all this milkweed. So I was really desperate. So I clipped a stem of milkweed off to bring home because I needed to feed some caterpillars. And they must have sprayed pesticides because all my caterpillars died. So I called the town, and I had said, like, what's up? Like, do you guys spray this area? She said, yes, they had sprayed for low to the ground for poison ivy. And I said, how is that in a pollinator garden? How can you do that? Yeah. So I was really sad. But so I have to look for like little roadside people that I know where people aren't going to be spraying pesticides, and then I clean them really well because they do pick up exhausts, and they get kind of gunky and dusty and from the roadside, so you have to wash it too. But yeah, I've been on that in that situation. So what happens is when the egg gets dropped, right? You have 3 days. That egg is only going to be there for 3 days. And during that period of time, only 3% in the wild, that egg will hatch. Only 3% of the time in the wild. That's why I bring mine inside. Every egg I find, I'm like, I have to bring it in.
Yeah.
I have to
So do you
protect
cut
it.
the leaf and bring it in?
Yeah.
Like it, because yes, okay.
Yeah, I just pull the leaf and I bring it in, and then it hatches and it starts to it eats its shell first, and then it eats the milkweed, and then it grows, and eats for about 15 days as a caterpillar. And if you were to think of a human our size growing in 15 days the size of the Statue of Liberty, that's the change in their composition from the time they hatch. When they hatch, you can't even see them hardly with your naked eye.
Yeah.
They're just like a little tip of a pen.
Yeah.
And then they just overnight, it's amazing to see the transformation. And then at about day 15, they go up to the top of the enclosure and they begin to get ready to go into that pupa state or that chrysalis. So they build a button and then they hang. It's such a strange process. They actually hang from in what's called a J hang. They hang from the top of the enclosure by their butt. So they make a button with their mouth and then attach something from their butt and hang down in a J. And then after about 48 hours, the skin dries and they turn into, they bust out of the skin. It's hard to explain unless you've seen it. They bust out of that skin and form this gorgeous chrysalis.
Wow.
And then it's like that for,
how
long is it like that? 11 days has been my average.
Wow.
11 days. And then they'll emerge.
Okay. Now, when you say enclosure, so I've heard of different people use different things.
Yeah. My family is very patient with me during the monarch raising season. So in my dining room, my dining room table turns into I've got a lot of Tupperware containers type of thing. And so I've got little, the babies, I've got them at different stages. There's 5 different stages of caterpillars, and I try and keep the sizes together. I don't want to mix them up too much. So I keep the eggs in one container, and then they're called instars. So 1 through 5 different size of instars in different containers. So when at my peak, I think it was about 2020, I had 60, 70, 80 going at once. It was a lot. Like, it was taking me 2 hours to feed them a day and clean them, because you have to clean the frass, and there's a lot of work involved. So I was like,
really?
It's demanding. Yeah.
Sorry.
So I had the operation in my living room, and then I said to my husband, and through research too, it says, if you're going to do captive raising and that, it's not necessarily ideal. You might want to think about figuring out how to do it outside in their natural environment, protected, because you have to protect them from the wasps. That's the number one thing. The wasps love to eat those caterpillars, and birds will try too, but the birds spit them out because they're toxic. Anyways, so my handy husband built me an enclosure for outdoors. Yes. So I was so excited. So I've been raising them outdoors and been very successful at doing that. It's a stand-up enclosure. It's probably about 6 feet tall by 2 feet wide by a foot deep type of thing, and with a big door on the front. And I have my milkweed plants in there and change them out, clean it out. Yeah, it's almost like, I don't know, it's just having another pet, really. You're just constantly,
absolutely,
like farming. I'm farming caterpillars. Farming
monarchs. And
I've
been scared to do it or to try it, because I feel like that tends to be, my big busy work season, which isn't right these days. But I'm like, my fear is that it's one thing to try to grow a plant and I end up killing the plant, which is sad, I know, and that happens. But forget to, you know what I mean? You forgot to water a plant or put the plant in the sun, but to forget to do something to a butterfly and kill it. I don't know if I could live with myself. So that was just a bit more, to try it.
It's a big responsibility, but I would suggest for anybody just to try 1 or 2, not get crazy about it. I mean, there's no need. The real important thing here is not about raising monarchs. It's more about planting milkweed. That's the key, because that's why they're endangered, because there's not enough food source for them. So I've learned that, and I've kind of changed my approach. And now it's all about the milkweed for me.
Okay.
Yeah, because the common was on the invasive species list for so long, despite its native being in its native habitat. Just where we cultivate, she just takes right in because it's perfect growing conditions.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and then to learn on top of that, not only have we like mowed it down for the last like decade to 2 decades,
Right.
right? And then to learn, didn't know this either, 3% chance for that egg. So not only have we
3%.
destroyed their homes, but only of all those who have survived and are landing and finding spots, only 3% on that like minuscule percent of milkweed left over is actually making it through. And I don't think a lot of people know that 3%, that just really puts the whole endangered right into perspective. It's not as, wow. Wow.
Now, Lisa-Rae, have you read anything about the issue with dog strangling vine as well? Have you found anything about that?
No, when you mentioned it to me, I was quite surprised that was being confused by the monarchs.
Yeah. So initially, Matt, I thought it was that they were related. But then I've heard it's more of just like a lookalike plant. I mean, it has that same pod and that same seed spread. And in our region, I mean, we are being eaten alive by dog strangling vine, both our forests, our parks, our neighborhoods, and people don't know what it is. So like I've been really trying to spread the word. And also that let people know that if you did pull it out or you did think it was a weed and then they're putting it in the compost bags, well, that's not good either, because it really should go in the garbage. It's not, it's Roundup resistant. So spraying it doesn't work. And so just for our listeners to recap, because it looks like milkweed to monarch butterflies, and it's not in the milkweed family, they are laying their eggs on it because it's everywhere. And then the leaves are poisonous to the caterpillar. So that is also, I think, kind of, certainly not helping the situation, right?
No.
And I think too many people, and the cities aren't keeping up with, even in the public spaces, here in Pickering, I've like 2 walkways that the catwalks, we call them. And, the city hasn't been getting to like weeding those or and taking care of cleaning those up. And that's fine. I mean, but except for the dog strangling vine, so there's dog strangling vine growing between the chain link fence and the wooden fence of the neighbors. And so every year I went for a walk yesterday and I thought, I got to come now with my garbage bag. So I take a garbage bag and I cut it at the base myself, and then I wind it through the fence and at least getting rid of the pods. So that we're not getting more seeds. So I've done a post on social media recently about it, and we've done past shows about dog strangling vines. So if any of our listeners are curious about that, then please reach out and I can explain more. But we want to talk more about the positive of milkweed and butterfly. Now, I've heard, I've had met ladies in a garden club who've done the swallowtail. They've bought dill and done the swallowtail butterflies as well.
Yes, and I stumbled upon that by accident. So any of your listeners that grow parsley in your garden, this is where I accidentally came upon this caterpillar that looks like a monarch caterpillar lookalike. It's the same coloring, but just the stripes are a little bit different. It really shocked me. I was like, what is going on here? It was on my parsley, eating my parsley in my garden. So then, of course, I'm on to Google. I'm looking this up, what is happening? And then I realize it's a swallowtail caterpillar. And they look for, what is it? It's parsley and one other type of herb.
Isn't it dill?
Dill. Is it dill?
I think it's dill.
Okay. So they'll lay their eggs specifically on those 2 plants. And then, again, the egg is, you can't even see it with your eye. The egg is so small. And so there you are enjoying your garden salad. And my goodness, it's horrifying to me. So I stopped growing it. I stopped growing because I was like, I can't. But yes, I have raised them, and those are really cool because they're completely different. And this year, what happened with me is I had some overwintering from last year because I raised them indoors, And they have this cool mechanism, kind of like what a turtle or a frog would do, is they almost, it's like an antifreeze that they built up beside them, because my house is air conditioned. So when they were eating all of my parsley, they were in this beautiful climate controlled environment and not out in the heat. So they thought that they was the end of the season. So they built up this antifreeze type of deal. Anyways, they went into their pupa, and I waited and waited and waited months. They didn't come out of the pupa. I'm like, I must be dead. Oops. And then no, it took the full year. They came out this March. I held on to them just in case. They were in my outdoor enclosure, and I kept checking on them as the weather was getting better. And I've got this gorgeous butterfly. I was like, get out of here. I can't believe it.
Oh my goodness.
It was like 11 months or something insane that it overwintered.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of those pop up. They're kind of like a mesh, like laundry bag.
Yes,
Anybody,
it's a must.
They're like a pop up ones.
It's a must.
With like the zipper. Like I think they're popular for university students, right? Like I remember pop up and they zip. They're like circular, right? Pop up. So those I've heard of people using as an enclosure.
Yeah. So the holes on those actual university laundry hampers aren't as tight as the actual ones. You can buy those mesh things with the zipper on them. They're specifically for raising monarchs and probably other critters, but they're nice and they're big and they're excellent. They're easy and easy to clean, easy to use, and it's a must, especially when the butterfly comes out of its chrysalis in your house. You have to be careful how you transfer that outside, because you don't want to let it loose in your house. It needs to be in an enclosure, right? Because you're never going to get it back once it's out in your house.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing you got any work done though, because like I think that all your right, because when it becomes ready to go out, like you've got to be home, right?
Yes, I plan it. Like I can tell, I have it down to a science. Like I really know on who's going, what's happening. I've had to take them on vacations with me sometimes and release them up at the cottage. I've had to, I brought one across the border this year. I had, but I know I had to, but I was feeding a caterpillar and it came back and forth with me without any incident. So it's fine. It was released here.
That's dedication. Dedication.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the monarchwatch.org?
Monarch Watch. Yes. Okay. So monarchwatch.org is an organization. They do a lot of education around raising monarchs and their food supply and things like that, and what's happening with them as far as their migration patterns and their decline and on the rise. So it's a great site to get tons of information on there. So when I was researching, I also found that they offer this opportunity for people that have pollinator gardens or that grow milkweed, and have a safe space for monarchs to eat the monarch butterflies, as well as lay eggs and go through that process. So you have to have so many, I guess, so much space dedicated to that pollinator garden. And I filled out the form and I was able to meet the criteria at my property. So I am officially a certified monarch waystation. So I've met that criteria, which is pollinator gardens and growing the milkweed and again, having that safe space and that enclosure.
Okay. So it doesn't involve like tagging them. Like, have you looked into any of that, where tagging them as they and registering the numbers?
So that's next. I've not done that. I've known other monarch enthusiasts who have done that. They go down about this time of year and go down near the lake shore, anywhere along the lake shore, and then you'll see them with nets and they're capturing the butterflies and sticking stickers on them, tagging them, what it's called, and tracking them. And hopefully they find out one day how far south their monarch made it. And so I haven't gotten there yet. It is something I'm interested in and learning more about and doing in the future for sure.
Okay. Well, call me when you want to go and do that. I think that would be interesting. And I think I'm really going to try. I will definitely, hopefully we'll harvest some butterfly weed, milkweed for you this year. And I'm definitely going to give it a shot next year. I think it's
wonderful.
It's fascinating. And I feel like it's just that I've even talked about climate change and things in the past about everybody's looking for the big answer. And I think there's a lot of big answers out there, but sometimes I think it's about the little things, right? It's about the little steps that we can do. And if we can all help something like the monarch butterfly by doing things like getting rid of dog strangling vine, like growing some milkweed. We've got a few more listeners who want to kill it, but I think it's looking at it differently and not looking at it as a weed and looking at it as a source of sole source of food for the monarch butterfly. I think it's real. I think, that's the thing, right? Like there's a lot of pollinators and there's a lot of plants we can plant for bees and butterflies. And the butterflies love coming and taking the nectar from my pollinator garden. But I don't have anything to feed, so I don't know why no one's come to my milkweed, but anyway.
They will.
They will. It still grows every year. Anyway, but I think when you realize that milkweed is the only source of food for a monarch butterfly, and I want to say this again to all their listeners, it's the only source of food. So, that if you've gotten some that has happened to come into your yard, it's a good thing. And let's look at the positive and not think about immediately going to the pesticide. If you have to dig it out, I guess, but
and call or reach out to a monarch group on Facebook near you. They'll come and they'll either dig it out or they'll cut it down for you, so it's easier to dig out because that milkweed, they're feeding monarch caterpillars, so they need it, and a lot of people are looking for it in season.
Okay, good.
So
that's something that's good to know, that if you don't want it, that you could, it's like a crop, you're growing a crop for somebody else, right?
That's right.
If you put it out there that you're growing that, just like all the people who have extra hostas or extra marigolds or whatever that they're growing, if you have, and it's not been contaminated by herbicides, then that's a good thing. Like you said, it's clean. It is clean milkweed. So
very important.
Yeah, so that's good. So any plans to do something differently? So you bring it inside, you've got it on like a grow lights?
Yes. Yeah, no, it seems what I've got going on seems to be working so far. It's just a matter of, and now what I'm doing is I'm offering those seedlings out. Like I reach out to the monarch groups in my neighborhood too. There's lots of families with little kids that want to try it and plant their one little milkweed. And so I always offer up the seedlings for them to come and grab them, and they're happy to take them, put them on my porch, and they get scooped up pretty fast. So word's getting around, which is heartwarming. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I may reach out to you about our garden, like our plant sale for our horticulture clubs too, because I think that might be a good thing to do. So
great. And I've got lots of seeds. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, Beth has written in, fantastic show tonight, Joanne and Matt. I learned so much. Does your guest have a website all about this stuff? If not, she should make one. Thank you. So that might be another way to get your word out and reach those people about your seedlings and etc. So anyways.
No, I don't have a website, but thank you very much. I will consider that.
Yeah. So, but I think it's wonderful that you're a gardener and someone's passionate about it, and like you said, a lot of trial and error to figure this out. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's been an interesting hobby and certainly an amateur. Still learning. I learn lots every season. It's been a real exploration, and it's been so rewarding.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey with butterflies and milkweed with us here on Down the Garden Path.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to Down the Garden Path with your host, Joanne Shaw and Matthew Dressing, right here on Reality Radio 101.